Friends, welcome to our channel. Here we are discussing a novel named Middlemarch by George Eliot. Before going into the summary and story of the novel, we have to get introduced into the characters. Okay, let's look into the characters. In the novel, we have two sisters, Brooke sisters, Dorothy Brooke and Celia Brooke. Dorothy is the eldest one and Celia is the youngest one. And they are raised up by their bachelor uncle, Mr. Brooke. And now we have Edward Casaubon and Sir James Chatham. Edward Casaubon is Dorothy's husband. He is an old dried-up scholar. And Sir James Chatham is Celia's husband, who is a local nobleman. Then we have Mr. Cadwallader. Mr. Cadwallader is a preacher of Sir James' parish and a trusted friend and advisor to him. And his wife, Mrs. Cadwallader. Then comes Will Ladislaw. Will Ladislaw is a young cousin of Mr. Casaubon. Then we have a doctor. Dr. Tertius Eliot is a young man of 30 with a good family and good connections. He is a new doctor to Middlemarch who had invented his own methods of treating people and have gained a lot of criticism and as well as appreciation due to his new methods and techniques. Then we have Rosamond Vincy. She is an empty-headed young woman. She loves Dr. Eliot because he is an outsider with impressive connections and he often flatters on her. She always needed constant attention from male suitors. Even after marriage, she continued the same. She prizes or treasures expensive possessions and furniture even more than her husband Eliot. Then we have Mr. Vincy. Mr. Vincy is Rosamond's father. Not only Rosamond's, but they have a son also, Fred. So Mr. Vincy is Rosamond and Fred's father. He is the mayor of Middlemarch. He is a merchant of good standing. He is dealing with clothes. And then comes Mrs. Vincy, wife to Mr. Vincy. And in fact, she is the originator of many of her daughter Rosamond's flaws because she is also a empty-headed, materialistic and impractical lady just as her daughter. Then comes Fred Vincy, the Vincy's only son. He is a spendthrift and very irresponsible young man. Though by the end of the novel he is doing dedicatedly better. He is in love with Mary Garth. So now we have Mary Garth. Mary Garth is the oldest child of Garth's family. She works for Mr. Featherstone at Stonecourt until his death. She is an intelligent, practical and independent girl. And now we have her family. Her father is Caleb Garth, a hardworking man who manages estates and does improvements and constructions and doing many projects on these properties. He is not so rich, but he is very generous spirit and is overall a good man. He is always honest and treats people well. And his wife, Mrs. Garth, is an honest woman with a great upstanding. Then comes Mr. Featherstone. Featherstone is the owner of Stonecourt, where Mary is working. He is a very wealthy man. He is related to both the Vincys and Garth families through his two childless marriages. He had two marriages and both of them were childless marriages. He is a stern, unkind old man. And after his death, he is leaving his estate to his illegitimate son Rick, which disappoints Vincy family to a great deal. So now comes Mr. Rick. Rick is an illegitimate son of Featherstone. He is disliked by the people in Middlemarch for his common origins and for being an outsider. He sells this Stonecourt to a man called Mr. Bulstrode. Now comes Mr. Bulstrode. He is a prominent figure in Middlemarch who is running a bank, hospital and other institutions. He has a good deal of money and is very prosperous. His wife, Mrs. Bulstrode, is Mr. Vincy's sister, a very good woman, honest and faithful, a true Middlemarcher with a long family history there. Then comes Fairbrother, very honest and good man. He is a clergy and makes very little money. And with this little money, he supports his sister, mother and aunt. He is a good friend of Ladislaw, Eliot and many others. He is also in love with Mary Garth and she regards him highly. Now comes Mr. Thai, another clergyman in the area. He gets the position as the chaplain at the hospital instead of Fairbrother for political reasons. Then comes Mr. Raphael's Eric's stepfather. He's a good for nothing kind of man. He's also a former business partner of Balstad. He helped Balstad in some very disreputable trades and come back years later to blackmail him. He effectively blackens Balstad's name, then dies of alcoholism while under his care. These are the main characters in the novel Middlemarch. Now we can go into the story of the novel. As we are coming into the story of the novel, we are getting introduced into two sisters, Dorothy and Celia, who were two Middlemarch sisters of marriageable age, who were raised up by their bachelor uncle, Mr. Brooke. Dorothea chooses Casaubon, a dried-up old scholar, for husband. Not everyone was so happy with her decision, but she decided to marry him. And Celia, the younger sister, chooses Sir James Chatham, a local nobleman, to marry. Initially, this Sir James Chatham wanted to marry Dorothy, but she turned him down. Celia and Mr. Brooke, Dorothy's uncle, tried to counsel her against marrying Casaubon, though she will not listen. Dorothy likes him because he is educated and she wants to learn, but unfortunately, the marriage turned to be a total mistake. Dorothy and Casaubon get married, and Casaubon always hoping and looking for someone to comfort and serve him. Dorothy but wanted to take part in his work and to study more. The couple went for a honeymoon in Rome, where they met Will Ladislaw, Casaubon's young cousin, but Casaubon dislikes him. Dorothy and Will become good friends immediately. They love to talk to each other and seems to have a real connection. And this made Casaubon very jealous. And the honeymoon turned out to be a total disaster because Dorothy feels almost alone and unwanted as her husband devotes his full time on his studies, not on his beautiful wife. Now comes Fred Vincy, an irresponsible young man. He was unable to finish his college because he had no aptitude for studies. He had a huge debt due to gambling, which he could not pay off because he has no job. He has a friend, Caleb Garth, an honest family man, who co-signed his death. Fred receives a huge amount of money from his uncle Featherstone, with which he can pay the debt. However, he wastes this money, and gods, who have little money, end up having to pay it. Then we are introduced to a young doctor named Eliot who moved into the town. He has new methods in medicine, which makes some of the older, more established doctors little jealous. Rosamond, the Vincy's daughter, takes to him immediately because he had good connections and he is new to Middlemarch. He likes her. He also likes her, but doesn't plan to marry her. She believes he is all hers and will propose very shortly. Ligate takes a controversial step of charging patients for a service. Some people don't like the new way of doing things, but Ligate is also able to cure some difficult cases. So his renown was kind of mixed in Middlemarch. Ligate is drawn towards Bulstrode. Mr. Bulstrode was very influential in the town, but people didn't like him much, but he is influential. Ligate is also compelled to vote with Bulstrode or vote according to Bulstrode's opinions and interest on certain issues. Like who to serve as hospital chaplain, he does this to please Bulstrode, though he does not please his conscience. Now comes Featherstone, an old cranky man who is a relative of God's and Vincy's. He is dying and all the relatives are coming to visit him hoping that they'll get something, as this man have lot of money, tons of money and property. But this man ignored all of them, and when he died, he leaves everything to his illegitimate son, Mr. Rick. Fred also has special hopes that he will get some money, but Fred became very disappointed when this man left all his properties and money to his illegitimate son, Mr. Rick. Dorothy's marriage continues to be very unpleasant as Casaubon expects her to devote all her time to make him feel better, soothing his insecurities and serving him. However, he doesn't tell her what he wants her to do, leaving her completely confused about everything. He doesn't consider Dorothy as a human being with her own opinions and ideas. Dorothy becomes less and less content in the marriage. At this time, Will Ladislaw moves to Middlemarch. This caused a great displeasure to Casaubon. Mr. Brooke, Dorothy's uncle, has brought a newspaper, The Pioneer, and hires Will Ladislaw to work on it. Like it, even though he did not have any intention of marrying her, proposes to Rosamond and she accepts, and they got married. The couple were warned that they are not suited to each other because Rosamond has no sense of money and she always loved much expensive things and possessions. However, both of them got married, and Rosamond soon being spending more than Lygate actually has saved. Casaubon is in a bad condition and Lygate diagnosed as a heart disease and can kill him suddenly. Casaubon asks Dorothy to promise to follow his wishes even after his death. She does not promise immediately, but before she can give him an answer or before she can make a decision, he is dead and she is widowed. There is a clause in Casaubon's will that Dorothy should not remarry. If she remarry, she will not get any of his properties. The clause is shocking. Dorothy goes to visit her sister and Sir James and their newly born baby Arthur. However, she finds out about this clause and is deeply troubled by it. Fred is told by his father to get a job, but instead, what he can do is go back to school and complete his studies to make Mary happier. The Goths come upon a great deal of good fortune. Caleb Goth gets some more properties to manage. Finally, the family is having some money. Fairbrother and his family is also started doing well. Dorothy gives them her large parish and an extra income that will allow Fairbrother to marry and will ensure that they could have enough money to lead a better life. At the same time, Lygate is deeply in debt and he could not pay back his loans and his business is failing quickly. Rosamond applies to her father and uncle for some loan but nothing seems to work. He is nervous and desperate and Rosamond begins to hate him because he tries to deny all her nice expensive things that she likes as he could not afford all these things. She treasures her precious things more than her husband. She continued her company with Will Ladislaw and fancies that he loves her. He does not, but she fancies so, but it keeps Rosamond content for some time. Will Ladislaw finds about the clause in Casaubon's will and becomes determined to leave. He sees Dorothy for one last time and had a heated confrontation. He leaves to London to find another job. Fred does not want to go into clergy and he made Fairbrother speak to Mary for him. Mary says that she is determined to marry Fred if he can find a job and he started searching for jobs and accidentally ended up becoming an assistant to Mary's father. His parents are not very pleasant by this decision, but this is all he wants to do or this is all he can do. Bulstrode buys Torncourt from Mr. Rigg and Rigg has decided to leave the town. Bulstrode meets Mr. Raffles, a man from his past, by accident. Mr. Raffles was doing a business of selling stolen goods and he will blackmail Bulstrode if he doesn't get money. Raffles also married Rigg's mother, but Rigg won't give him any money and told him to leave immediately. Rick comes again and again to haunt Bulstrode. Each time Bulstrode pays him to leave, but Raffles comes back and he is very ill. Raffles tells Mr. Goth about Bulstrode's past, but Mr. Goth is very careful to spread this knowledge around. So Bulstrode thinks that he is very safe. Raffles dies at Bulstrode's house under Lygate's care. But Raffles died of natural causes relating to alcoholism. Bulstrode offers Lygate a large amount of loan to keep him from going bankrupt. Lygate takes this amount like a bribe. Bulstrode also found out that he had married Will Ladislaw's grandmother and had deprived Will of his rightful inheritance. He tries to repent by offering Will Ladislaw a good deal of money, but Will Ladislaw refuses the money. Will comes back, but Dorothy catches him with Rosamond in what looks like a bad situation. Dorothy is disappointed and angry with Will Ladislaw. Will is in turn angry with Rosamond for making things look like he loved her, but he didn't love her at all. And finally, Sir James warned him out of the neighborhood again, thinking that he's not a good person and he needs to protect his sister in law. Raffles told his story to a few more people than Caleb Garth, and the story gets around to Middlemarch, and things started looking very bad for Belstart. Lygate is also connected with this as he received the loan as some kind of bribe for being quiet about the circumstances regarding Raffles' death. Dorothy, however, believes that Lygate is innocent. She, Fairbrother, and few others convince him to stay in time. Public opinion was not much against him, though his practices started diminishing. Bulstrode, however, has to leave Middlemarch because the scandal is so sad. His wife is so sorry because she had no idea that his past was so dirty. She is a very good person and finally decided to stay with him no matter what. He leaves in disgrace, though Lygate, who is innocent, stays behind. Fred is doing well in his work for Mr. Garth. Mrs. Bulstrode leaves him the management of Stone Court and he gets to live there as he takes care of the property. He and Mary become engaged, though Fairbrother also wishes to marry her, but their engagement will be long while Fred continues to prove himself through work and save some money for marriage. Dorothy bails out Lygate with money to pay Bulstrode back. Finally, Will Ladislaw comes to see her. Now she decides that she will not lose him for some property or money. Now she decided she doesn't want to lose him. Dorothy gives up all of Casaubon's money and property to marry Will Ladislaw. Celia and Sir James are shocked by this decision, though she has made the right decision. Sir James continues to think badly of the marriage, but Will and Dorothy go to London. Will is elected to Parliament, and they are happily ever after. This is the story of Middlemarch. Hoping that all of you understood the story and enjoyed the storytelling. If so, please subscribe to my channel and like the video.